wonderful good evening. It's getting closer to Christmas. Still a bit of time to get your shopping done, so go ahead. But before you go, please listen to our podcast. Good evening. This is Bulls and Red. We're at home at Leipzig, and this podcast is made for you wherever you are on this planet. And I'd like to welcome our brain of the podcast, Richard. Wie geht's dir? How are you tonight?
Good evening. The coolest thing is, from our podcast, you can listen to this podcast during your shopping tour.
And drown out everybody else.
Ignore everybody else.
Nagging wife. Never talk about nagging wives.
And it's shortened the waiting time.
It does.
Isn't it cool? Yes.
That's wonderful.
Aside of that, I'm good. Thank you.
This is good to hear. Today we only got two topics. We're going to look back very quickly at the Eintracht match at Leipzig, and we'll be looking forward to our little encounter at Munich versus Bayern München. But first of all, let's look back at last Sunday night. Everybody hopefully knows that we did take away the 3 points. I suspected that the match would be different from the cup tie. And one of my good friends in the Frankfurt area, he happens to be an Eintracht supporter. He sent me a message via WhatsApp before the match, and he said, hopefully you're going to let us live this time. And I replied, well, it's going to be a completely different game because Eintracht knows how Leipzig is playing, and I'm sure they adjusted their plan. And it was tight. It was a tight match. And there was one tradition which started, and that was an offside goal for RB Leipzig. I didn't really celebrate that much when we scored that first goal because I suspect it would be offside because it's that tradition. But I thought it was a good start, and I was really impressed. I was really impressed with RB Leipzig, the way they played. Given the resources they had, they only made 3 subs because they only had 3 senior professional players on the bench and 3 under 19, so there's no change. Also, Vermeeren was suspended, as we all know, so options were very limited. And it was reported that David Raum was on the bench as well, but he wasn't really able to play, but he just wanted to support the team. So that just shows the mentality of the team. And that's what I took away from this match. I am relieved that the team is still acting as one squad. Everybody's working together, fighting as one team. And on Sunday, the people who were supporting RB Leipzig and were present in the stadium were the right supporters. All these nagging people were there maybe many games before, even during the cup tie, with remarks like, why didn't he do this and why didn't he do that and why isn't that not working? They were, drowned out maybe because the rest of the people were really chanting for the team, supporting the team, celebrating each little success. So if our newly discovered defender Seiwert cleared the ball through the sideline, it was a big celebration, and that's how the team got a lot of power back, a lot of energy back. It was the right energy in the stadium again. It was tight. I mean, from the 65th minute on, I had the feeling that RB Leipzig would lose power, and it was like the batteries draining. And Eintracht Frankfurt is an exciting team to watch. They have a young squad, and you could see this when they equalized. It was a beautiful goal. I even clapped because I recognized that this is a beautiful goal. But I shouted much louder when we scored, so no worries about that. And this team will go places. It is exciting, and that's why, for the last 25, 30 minutes, I was really concerned. I thought, okay, 10 more minutes of play, and they would have equalized. But no, this was an important win, and whatever happens on Friday, however we end the calendar year, I think the club can take away a lot of positives, and even the players who stuck with the team were scraping through this or fighting through there. We're all thinking of is it the big toe or the bad foot of Kevin Campbell, who missed a clear chance, by the way, but he's not a striker, so I'll forgive him. All of that will be remembered, and they can take strength out of it going forward in the season. They come through a really, really difficult time, and we should always remember that, even if at the beginning of the year, when all these super duper players are coming back, things maybe are not working out so well straight away, remember this phase. We're going through a difficult phase, and we're getting through this. So that is my takeaway from the match. I'm not worried about what's happening in Munich at the end of the week. I'm pretty much cautiously optimistic for the restart on the 12th of January versus Werder Bremen, and also for our quarterfinals versus Wolfsburg, and the two, matches in the Champions League. I think if you win, you probably get a little bit more money, so maybe that's what we should be going for. Another takeaway from the matches, that was something quite surprising, because I watched that game back on television, and you get a different perspective, because where I'm sitting is pretty much top level, sort of corner behind one of the goals. And when you look at the stands, it looks quite full. And officially we had about a crowd of 40,000 people. But when you watch from the perspective of the television, and they put the camera straight onto the stands and the seats, there were a lot of gaps. I didn't pay any attention to it in the stadium either, because I was busy shouting and clapping and supporting the team, and just it was so tense during the match. But I was really shocked what I saw on TV, these wide gaps. So there are a lot of no-shows, and I'm not sure how they come up with the number of 40,000. Now, the away section with the Eintracht supporters was as full as it was 2 weeks ago when they played the cup tie. So hats off to that. And the atmosphere and the chants coming out of that. So there was no difference to that. But around the stadium, okay, with the core supporters of RB Leipzig behind one of the goals, that was pretty full as well. It was full. You can't really spot the gaps when the people are standing up. But where the seats are, it felt kind of empty at some places, and reminiscing of some of the matches you see at Hoffenheim when they don't have so many people around, or Wolfsburg. So officially it was 40,000, but I wouldn't have been surprised if that was maybe 10,000 less. Nevertheless, as I said in the beginning, the right people are there, and I'd rather have less people in our stadium during the matches, but the right support, because that's the only way we can succeed and get out of this. So there you go. My two key takeaways from the match versus Frankfurt. It was very enjoyable, but I'm glad it's over. So, Richard, shall we talk about Friday and what's awaiting us?
Let's go.
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegnercheck.
Friday night primetime match, 8:30 European Standard Time, and it's on nationwide television on Sat.1, free TV, so everyone can watch in Germany, and I guess, a few million people will. And so it's our away match at Munich, and it's always a hard match, right? This is 2-3 euros in the Phrasenschwein, because it's never easy. Although we travel there in better shape in recent years, as we are now in. But on the other hand side, Bayern Munich has also to deal with a few injuries. You might have recognized that Harry Kane is out and working on a comeback. He might be available on Friday night, but very likely not for 90 minutes. Also not available, or at least not available for 90 minutes, is Gnabry. Gnabry is out, I think, and Coman is out as well. Alphonso Davies might come back on Friday. He was also out with a minor injury for a few weeks, and so that needed the company to make a few changes in the starting lineup, and those changes led to some imbalances, in my opinion, between defense and offense. This is such a high power, and individual quality is so high offensively, but on the other hand side, defensively, they're a bit shaky. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, they're performing way better than I expected it before the start of the season. You might remember my take was that we are going all the way, and that Bayern would have to deal with some problems because the whole new coaching staff, new system, and so on. Oh my God, that statement didn't age well. But nevertheless, they had a quite remarkable streak during October and November. But then, with the absence of Harry Kane, somehow they started to lacking in, consistency. Mm-hmm. And I watched all those goals they conceded. I sat down later this afternoon and switched on YouTube and went through every goal they conceded this season. And it was quite interesting that I think they conceded 12 goals in the league and a few more in the international competitions and in the cup. And only 2 of those came from ball possession play from their opponents. So every other goals they conceded were either set pieces, but not much. I think it was 1 corner and 1 free kick. And all the others were counterattacks. And what's quite interesting here is how often there's this one name on my note sheet. It's him, the South Korean defender. To me, he's somehow overrated. Come on. So maybe he's good with the ball. He's okay with opening plays and building up play. But when it comes to counterattacks and when it comes to timing, to place himself, or to put himself in position to put other players offside, or to estimate switches correctly and then go for the header in a correct manner, I don't think this is upper tier defender in Euro football. So you mentioned before we started our recording, hey, what about Konate and Van Dijk? And I was like, okay, this is in a whole nother level. This is so Van Dijk and Konate is world class, and Upamecano and especially Kim is 1 tier lower. And, just a few examples here. Versus Wolfsburg, they conceded 2. And I was like, okay, Kim lost the ball during build-up play. And then it was a counter. Another scene that I have on my notes here is at Frankfurt. When they conceded 3, there was a really bad header from Kim in midfield at a time. So no need to play such a high-risk ball in midfield and risking a counter-attack, especially with the speedster Marmoush. And what happened was that Marmoush scored a 3rd goal and Kim wasn't able to follow him. Okay. Another one here. At Donetsk, most recently in the Champions League, Kim was too deep. Donetsk had the early lead, the 1-0 lead versus Bayern, and it was just a simple pass through midfield, and Kim was just too deep and didn't manage to put the attacker offside. So he was onside, and then it was all a one-on-one duel, and Kim is not the fastest guy as well, and so he couldn't keep up pace and was just runner-up in this duel, and so Donetsk scored. And yeah, some even more I could mention here, but just to make those 3 simple examples. And I think this is something we could exploit. We had this approach versus Frankfurt twice now. So putting 3 center backs on the field and stabilize our midfield, just put a little bit more effort into our defensive work and try to concentrate on counterattacks. And sure, Bayern Munich is in a whole nother level individually, especially with their offensive power compared to Frankfurt. I know. But on the other hand side, the same approach should at least lead to some kind of chances. And then it's all about efficiency. As all of it, as efficiency is always a good thing to have. But playing out our advantages in speed, Openda is a fast guy, Shesko is fast as hell. That should come into our favor, and Nusa as well. And Nusa is so swiftly and quick. And imagine yourself Nusa against Upamecano. That could be a nice matchup into our favor here.
Well, the first picture I got in my mind is Upamecano giving a body check. But he might not be able to because Nusa has gone past him.
Yes, exactly this. And, versus Frankfurt, it worked out very well for at least most of the time. And I think we have a good chance to score at least 1 goal, maybe 2. And if we get a little lucky, and Kane is not around, so that would help us, of course, then we might end up with a 2-2 draw here. But, on the other hand side, it's just not possible to stop Bayern offensively because, they have not only Kane, even if he's just only good to go for 70 minutes, but I didn't mention Musiala yet.
Yeah, who's that guy?
Come on. Who just received the Golden Ball Award and the Golden, what's the best player on the planet award? And it's Vinny Jr. or who it was. This is just ridiculous because Musiala is in my opinion, the best player available, because it's everything he does comes with ease. It's incredible. He doesn't care about anything, so it seems like that, and it's all he does on that pitch is just it seems so natural. So natural, and it's like, hey, come on, do it just like I do, and anyone can play like that. But obviously, it's not that easy. But he makes it look easy, and it's so impressive. And Pavlovic as well, another talented striker, maybe not on the same page as Musiala, but still very good. And of course, Kimmich, the pivotal point in this whole unit, and it's gonna be a heck of a job to sustain there. But as I try to describe here, we could have a chance to come away with at least a draw.
And it does help that we have a new secret weapon in the back with Seiwald. But also, I'm so glad Schlager is back. He just adds so much stability to the game as well. And hopefully he is able to maybe last a little bit longer, play a little bit longer than, I don't know, I think it was 60, 65 minutes, which was longer than they had agreed, I heard. But he's so important. And to be honest, most important of all, I hope nobody gets injured, because everybody just needs to come back. And I can see your point. In sense of play the sort of, well, we are the underdogs anyway, but try to do the counterattacks. I think we're capable of doing that.
And get physical. That's how Mainz did it. They got physical.
Yeah. Yeah, true. And with Schlager, who's leading that, the whole team got more physical as well. And they have to.
So, ready for the Tim Tölke shout out?
Yes, hold on. So, who's Marco Rose gonna send out on that beautiful grass in the Allianz Arena in München?
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
He surprised me, at least, with Van der Voort versus Frankfurt, but I'm sure that Pete the Wall will return in front of him. 3 center backs, but not Seiwald around. So, because we talked about in our little advent calendar on the 16th of December, and that's why I think number 16 is returning. This is a Lukas Klostermann game.
Is the knee okay? Do you think so?
Yes. Klostermann returning alongside Orban and Gertruida. 5-guy midfield, Henry Schlager, Baumgartner, Vermeeren turning back, and Nusa, and of course, Shesko and Openda. They are hot.
They are.
At the moment.
Okay. It sounds like a very capable team. Absolutely. A team, which can get something out of that game in the last game of this calendar year. Well, I'll be watching. And there are more than 4,000 fans traveling out to Munich on that Friday as well from Leipzig. They're going to be sitting way up there. You're not going to be able to see them, but you might be able to hear them. Everything goes well. These are going to be the only ones you're going to hear them. Hopefully. You never know. Yes, we keep our fingers crossed and we keep supporting them through TV channels and radio and what's not. And I'm sure you do as well. Guys, another calendar year is coming to close. And this is going to be our last regular season in this calendar year. And we really appreciate everyone who's been listening in, everyone who's been subscribing to this pod and been following us, and all these people who have been in touch with us by email. The email address is podcast@posenred.com. We want to wish you a very happy Christmas to you, your loved ones, whatever you do, and all the best for the new year. And we'll definitely talk to you again next year, early next year, before we have our little encounter with Werder Bremen. But until then, we'll still keep counting down the days to Christmas. So there are more Advent calendar doors coming up to Christmas Eve. But this is a heartfelt thank you from the both of us to everyone who's been listening, following us, and we hope to be in touch again next year. And this also thanks to you, Richard.
I would like,
for sticking with us.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mario, for your effort. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your presentation, and thanks all to those listeners outside. And come good, a good slide, as we say in Germany.
I know.
And a good slide into 2025.
Yeah, just put it into Google or in your AI. pilot or chat. You'll find out what we mean. Once again, thanks everyone. Talk to you next year. This has been Bosen Red. We're at home in Leipzig, and this podcast is made for everyone around this little planet. Happy Christmas. Happy New Year. Und auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs!